Revlon's collapse into bankruptcy wasn't just about declining sales, it followed a wave of lawsuits exposing toxic ingredients and unethical sourcing buried beneath its glamorous image. But it's not alone. Independent lab tests have now confirmed that hundreds of lipstick shades, including those from Maybelline, L'Oreal, MAC, CoverGirl, and Wet n Wild, contain dangerous levels of lead, arsenic, and other industrial chemicals. These metals don't wash off, they build up slowly in the body, causing neurological damage, hormone disruption, and increasing cancer risk with daily use. Behind every swipe of color may be a silent cumulative threat. If you're tired of being lied to, if you're ready to expose the truth they don't want you to know, then don't just watch. Join this fight. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the facts the corporations hope you'll ignore. Every new video pulls back the curtain a little more, and together we're building a movement they can't silence. Subscribe, stay informed, and let's take back control, one truth at a time. These revelations point to a deeper systemic issue in the beauty industry, where claims of safety and compliance mask the reality of regulatory loopholes, labor exploitation, and long-term harm. With pigments sourced from unregulated mines and chemical formulas designed for longevity over health, these products compromise more than skin. They violate trust. But alternatives do exist. Brands committed to natural, ethically sourced ingredients, like Bite Beauty, Ilia, and Burt's Bees, prove that beauty doesn't have to come at the cost of safety or integrity. The question is no longer whether we need safer options, it's whether we're ready to choose them. Over 400 lipstick shades sold in American stores, products women wear on their mouths every single day, have been found to contain toxic levels of lead, arsenic, chromium, and other dangerous industrial chemicals. These aren't minor trace elements. These are measurable, harmful contaminants that enter your body through daily use. Whether you're reapplying lipstick before a meeting or swiping on your favorite color for a night out, you could be slowly poisoning yourself and never know it until the damage is done. This isn't a fringe issue. It's a public health disaster that's been hiding in plain sight. Recent independent lab tests revealed that these heavy metals are present in many mainstream brands. Brands that dominate store shelves. Brands trusted by millions. Brands like Maybelline, L'Oreal, Revlon, MAC, CoverGirl, and Wet n Wild. All of them have been implicated. All of them have products contaminated with unsafe levels of lead and other toxins, and they've been selling them for years. Let's start with the basics. Lead is a neurotoxin. It doesn't belong anywhere near your mouth, your skin, or your bloodstream. It accumulates in the body. It doesn't just flush out. Over time, it can cause serious neurological damage, hormone disruption, reproductive issues, and even cancer. And it's not alone. Arsenic, chromium, and other chemicals commonly found in these products also have well-documented links to organ damage and immune system disorders. These are products used by women every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. That means exposure isn't occasional, it's chronic. And when you combine chronic exposure with cumulative toxicity, you get a silent long-term health threat that the beauty industry has failed to confront and in many cases has actively hidden. Let's be clear, this is not an accident. It's not a fluke. It's the result of deliberate cost-cutting, poor regulation, and unethical supply chains that prioritize profit over safety. Start with Maybelline. Known for its long-lasting formulas, Maybelline's lipsticks rely on polymers, industrial plastics to create that stay-all-day effect. But these polymers don't just coat your lips. They form non-breathable layers that can trap moisture and bacteria, leading to microcracks, allergic reactions, and skin damage. And the pigments, often sourced from mines with little to no oversight, where lead and other toxic metals are embedded in the raw materials. Then there's L'Oreal. Tests have found lead levels in some of their lipsticks that exceed the recommended safety limits. And yet, the company continues to deny the risks, even while lobbying against stricter cosmetic regulations in the US. That's not just negligence, that's calculated deception. The company is more invested in protecting its bottom line than protecting its customers. Revlon's situation is even worse. Once a symbol of Hollywood glamour, the brand has spiraled into bankruptcy. Along the way, lawsuits have exposed the use of contaminated ingredients from unregulated mines, petrochemical additives, and chemical stabilizers linked to serious health concerns. This is a brand that sold the image of sophistication while cutting corners corners on safety at every turn. MAC, the so-called professional line, isn't exempt. Their iconic high-impact colors contain heavy metals and are created using industrial coatings. And that's not all. There are serious concerns about how MAC sources its materials, questions about unethical mining, labor exploitation, and even data privacy violations from their digital marketing tools. The brand markets itself as cutting-edge and ethical, but the facts say otherwise. CoverGirl and Wet n Wild are both guilty of using PFAS chemicals, also known as forever chemicals, in their formulations. These substances don't break down in the environment and are linked to hormone disruption, immune system suppression, and certain cancers. Combine that with their use of heavy metals and low-cost manufacturing shortcuts, and you've got a toxic cocktail being sold for a few bucks on drugstore shelves. The common thread across all these brands is the same: unregulated supply chains, contaminated raw materials, and corporate spin. These companies are sourcing pigments from unregulated mines in India and other countries, where women and children often work in dangerous, dusty conditions without proper safety equipment. The mining of mica and other pigments exposes workers to silica dust and heavy metal particles that permanently damage their lungs and nervous systems. Also, Western consumers can wear a prettier shade of red, and what makes it worse, most consumers have no idea this is happening, because in the US, the cosmetic industry is shockingly underregulated. There is no mandatory pre-market testing for safety. Companies are allowed to self-report their ingredients. That means they can claim compliance while using contaminated components, because no one is checking. There's no incentive to be transparent when the system is built on voluntary standards and regulatory loopholes. So when these brands are caught, their first move isn't to fix the problem, it's to cover it up, to issue vague statements, to double down on marketing, to confuse the consumer and deflect attention. And for years it's worked. But that needs to end. The truth is, lipstick shouldn't come with a health warning. It shouldn't contain lead, arsenic, or PFAS. It shouldn't be the product of child labor, toxic mining, or corporate fraud. And yet, here we are. 6 major brands, hundreds of contaminated products, zero accountability. But there are safer options. You don't have to compromise your health for beauty. Brands like Burt's Bees, Elia, and Bite Beauty are leading the way with natural, toxin-free alternatives. They don't use heavy metals. They don't rely on plastics or chemical film formers. They source their ingredients ethically. They don't cut corners. These products use natural oils, plant-based pigments, and food-grade preservatives. And yes, they're just as beautiful, just as pigmented, and just as effective. They've proven that you can have rich color without putting poison on your lips, that you can feel good about what you're wearing and where it came from, that beauty doesn't have to come at the cost of your health, someone else's labor, or the planet. Because this isn't just about lipstick, it's about trust. It's about the right to know what's in your products. It's about standing up to corporations that think they can get away with selling contaminated goods just because they've got the advertising budget to make it look glamorous. It's about ending the cycle of deception, exposure, and denial. You have the power to break that cycle. Start by checking your labels. Avoid brands that won't disclose full ingredient lists. Look for certifications from third-party testers. Educate yourself. Ask questions. Talk to others. Make noise. Because every purchase is a vote. Every product you reject sends a message. And every safer alternative you support makes the industry take notice. If you found this information helpful, share it. Someone in your circle is probably using one of these contaminated products right now and doesn't know it. Hit the like button so more people can see what the mainstream beauty world refuses to talk about. Drop a comment if you've had concerns about your makeup or switch to a safer brand. Your experience could help someone else. And if you want more truth, more facts, and more accountability, subscribe, because we're going to keep exposing what corporations want to hide. We're going to keep telling the truth without the filters, the sponsorships, or the PR spin. And one last thing, before switching any product, especially if you have allergies, sensitivities, or medical conditions, consult your doctor or dermatologist. Your safety comes first. Beauty should never cost your health. And now you know what they never wanted you to find out. The cosmetic industry has betrayed its consumers. For years they've sold you dreams wrapped in sleek packaging and bold colors, while quietly delivering toxicity. You trusted these brands. You believed the claims on the box. Dermatologists tested, safe for daily use, cruelty-free. But what they didn't tell you was that behind the glossy finishes and feel-good ads were dangerous levels of lead, arsenic, and industrial chemicals smeared across your lips day after day. This isn't about a bad batch. This isn't about one product slipping through the cracks. This is systemic. Hundreds of lipsticks, 6 major brands, and not a single one of them raised the alarm until independent testing forced the truth into the light. And let's be clear, lead doesn't belong in lipstick, not at any level. There is no safe exposure to lead. That's not opinion, that's scientific consensus. Even low levels can cause long-term damage, especially in women and children. Neurological issues, hormone disruption, reproductive complications. The body doesn't flush lead out overnight. It stores it in bones, in the brain, in vital organs, and the more it builds up, the worse the effects become. So when Maybelline, L'Oreal, Revlon, MAC, CoverGirl, and Wet n Wild use raw materials contaminated with lead or arsenic, when they coat your lips with film-forming plastics and heavy metals, they're not just selling lipstick, they're exposing you to silent, daily harm. Harm they knew was possible, harm they chose to ignore. Let's talk about those ingredients for a moment. Many of these long-wear lipsticks brag about their durability, 24-hour color, smudge-proof, stay matte, but those claims come at a cost. That staying power, it's made possible by polyethylene, silicones, and industrial film formers. These are the same types of chemicals used to coat electronics and plastics, not something that should ever go near human skin, let alone your mouth. These film formers trap bacteria and moisture. They prevent your lips from breathing. Over time, they cause micro cracks, dryness, and allergic reactions. Your lips start peeling, they chap, they become irritated, and while you're reapplying to fix the damage, you're just layering on more toxins. That's not skincare, that's chemical warfare, disguised as cosmetics. And the sourcing, even worse. The pigments used in these products are often mined in countries with little to no labor regulation. India is a hotspot, so is China, so is Brazil. In these regions, pigment mining is cheap and dangerous. Women and children work without protection, inhaling silica dust and lid particles. They suffer lung damage, chronic pain, lost wages, no insurance, no oversight, and all of it so that Revlon can put out another bold new shade for the spring collection. Let's stop calling it beauty. This is exploitation. From mine to factory to shelf, every contaminated lipstick is a symbol of disregard for your health, for worker safety, and for environmental impact. And while these corporations cash in, what do they do when confronted with the facts? They deflect, they downplay, they deny, they say things like, "Our products meet all applicable safety standards." But here's the truth. In the United States, there are no mandatory safety standards for cosmetics. When it comes to heavy metals, companies are not required to test for contaminants before products go to market. They're not even required to disclose full ingredient lists. And the FDA, it doesn't have the authority to recall cosmetic products unless there's conclusive proof of harm. That means most lipsticks are sold under a self-policing honor system. And let's be honest, there's no honor in poisoning people for profit. So what can you do? You take back control. You become a smart, selective, informed consumer. You start questioning every product in your makeup bag. You research the brands, you read the labels, and you stop believing that big names mean better safety. Because the truth is, better options do exist. They've just been drowned out by corporate marketing machines that convince you clean beauty is a luxury or a fad. It's not. It's necessary. Burt's Bees, Ilia, Bite Beauty. These companies are proving that you don't need heavy metals or plastic film formers to create bold, long-lasting, beautiful lipsticks. They're using ethically sourced pigments, plant-based waxes, natural oils, and food-safe preservatives, and they're doing it transparently. No vague labels, no hidden ingredients, no shady loopholes. They're not perfect, but they're honest. And right now, honesty is the one thing the mainstream beauty industry is missing most. This is about more than makeup. It's about integrity. You don't have to settle for products that risk your health to meet a color trend. You don't have to choose between beauty and safety. That's a lie. The industry has been selling you for too long. They told you clean products can't perform, that natural ingredients don't last, that if you want to look good, you have to accept a little lead. They lied. You don't have to accept any of it. And the more you say no, the louder the message becomes. Rejecting these products doesn't mean you're giving up lipstick. It means you're demanding better. It means you believe that your health matters, that your body isn't a testing ground for unregulated chemicals, that beauty should never be rooted in deception. You're not just a consumer, you're a gatekeeper. And the moment you start treating your choices that way, the industry will be forced to change. They've gotten away with this because people didn't know, but now you do. Now you know that your go-to lipstick could be delivering trace amounts of lid into your bloodstream every time you apply it. Now you know that your favorite brand's pigment might have been mined by a child exposed to toxic dust. Now you know that the shiny, irresistible packaging was never meant to protect you. It was meant to distract you. So don't let them distract you anymore. We've exposed the names. We've exposed the poisons. But what hasn't been talked about enough is why this keeps happening. Why do some of the biggest, most recognizable cosmetic brands in the world continue to sell contaminated products? Why haven't they been held accountable? Why does this toxic cycle of marketing, denial, exposure, and harm still go unchecked? Because the system protects them. It protects the money. It protects the branding. It protects the illusion. Let's talk about Revlon again. Once a giant in the beauty industry, a brand tied to Hollywood icons and red carpet glamour, but behind the image, a mountain of lawsuits, bankruptcy filings, and a supply chain riddled with unregulated pigment sourcing and petrochemical additives. The reality: Revlon's products were cheap to make and dangerous to wear. That's not just a brand that lost its way. That's a brand that cashed in on your trust and walked away when the consequences finally caught up. Then there's L'Oreal, the biggest cosmetics company on the planet, with more resources than almost any other brand. They could easily eliminate contaminated ingredients. They could test rigorously. They could source ethically. But instead, they've used their power to fight regulation, lobbying against stricter rules, funding misinformation campaigns, downplaying independent lab results, all while women continue to use their products every day, unaware of what's really inside. And it's not just lipsticks. It's glosses, balms, long-wear stains, lip liners. Any product that touches your mouth is a direct line into your bloodstream. That's why the presence of lead and arsenic is so serious. It's not just contact exposure, it's internal exposure. You eat, you drink, you lick your lips. That product, contaminated or not, gets ingested. Over time, the lead adds up, and that's when the damage becomes permanent. So let's talk about that damage. Lead exposure has been linked to neurological dysfunction. It interferes with brain development in children. It impairs memory and concentration in adults. It disrupts hormone function. It's been associated with reproductive complications, including miscarriages and infertility. This isn't fringe science. This is established fact. And still, these products are sitting on shelves, completely unregulated, completely unchecked. And arsenic, it's classified as a Group 1 carcinogen. That means it's definitely capable of causing cancer. Not possibly, definitely. So why is it showing up in lipsticks? Because it's present in the raw pigments used to make bold, rich colors. Colors that sell well. Colors that are cheap to produce when you cut corners. And these corners are being cut in remote mines and factories where oversight is non-existent. These materials travel thousands of miles through complex global supply chains and end up in your lipstick bullet. By the time the product lands in your hand, the trail of contamination is buried, and that's exactly how they like it. Now let's shift focus, because this isn't just about what's in the products, it's about the people affected. Women from every walk of life use these brands. For many, they're more than just cosmetics. They're part of identity, ritual, expression. For working mothers, students, trans women, performers, lipstick isn't optional. It's armor, it's self-definition, it's freedom. So when these companies betray your trust, it hits harder than just bad PR. It hits your confidence. It turns something joyful into something dangerous. And the worst part? These companies know that. They know you've grown up with these brands, that you've passed them down through generations, that the names Revlon, CoverGirl, MAC mean something emotionally, and they exploit that loyalty while filling your products with the very substances your body should never be exposed to. It's corporate gaslighting, plain and simple, because the moment you start asking questions about lead levels, about pigment sourcing, about plastic-based polymers, they'll tell you not to worry. They'll remind you that they meet federal guidelines, but what they won't tell you is that those guidelines are voluntary, that no one's enforcing them, that they haven't updated the core U.S. cosmetic regulations since 1938. That's right, 1938, before color TV, before the internet, before the science of endocrine disruption was even understood. And this is the legal framework these companies are hiding behind today. And in the meantime, consumers are left unprotected. So what can be done? Start with awareness. Know what's in your products. Know which brands don't use heavy metals, plastics, or synthetic film formers. Brands like Burt's Bees, Bite Beauty, Elia, these aren't niche anymore. They're leading a movement, and they've proven that you can create vibrant, long-wear lipsticks without resorting to contamination. They're sourcing pigments ethically, they're testing rigorously, they're transparent, and more importantly, they're putting human health before margin. Yes, they may cost a few dollars more, but what's the cost of neurological damage, of cancer, of hormonal disruption that alters your reproductive health? Those cheaper lipsticks aren't a bargain if they're poisoning you, and that's the choice every consumer needs to confront. Buy cheap and roll the dice, or support brands that take the science and your safety seriously, and don't fall for greenwashing. Plenty of brands will slap natural or clean on the label, while still using contaminated pigments and petroleum-based Those words mean nothing without full ingredient disclosure and third-party testing, so read the ingredient lists. Ask for lab reports. Support companies that publish sourcing details. The more pressure you put on the industry, the faster it will change, because that's what the big brands fear most. Not lawsuits, not headlines. They fear an educated customer who knows the truth, who demands better, who refuses to stay silent. So be that customer. If this video opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let your friends and family know what's really in their makeup bags. Hit the like button if you believe in accountability. Comment below if you've switched to cleaner brands or had a reaction to a lipstick you trusted. And if you want more truth like this, subscribe. No filters, no fluff, just facts that could change your life. And don't forget, before changing any of your skincare or cosmetic products, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions or allergies, talk to your doctor or dermatologist. You deserve products that celebrate your beauty without compromising your health. And now that you know the truth, there's no reason to settle for anything less.